Welcome back to Ribbon Candy Hooking. I'm Deanna. I'm working on a project from our autumn advent calendar. I have another idea. I was doing a lot of compositions with leaves, and I think I will continue on some of those. But I was just looking at a book and I got a great inspiration I have to share with you. I'm looking at using these fibers again, right, and a few more. But you've got a ton of these kinds of woolly fibers that I took off these weaving spools in your advent calendars. So I'm looking to use those myself for a project that I just thought of. Look at this. I've been obsessing a little bit about weavers because of the textile craft crossing over into our craft, rug making. And while I don't have much experience since college working on a loom, I'm still looking at their work and what they were able to achieve, right, with very, very simple compositions and simple subjects and abstract subjects. And I came across this artist called Ragnhild Langlet. This is a Swedish artist. Very hard to research, although I'm going to get going with trying. And I found this beautiful composition here. It's called The Wave. See it with all of the different colors running through it, and then simple, sort of what we would call in rug hooking hit or miss in the background. I've just completely fallen in love with this piece. This was done, doesn't say the year, but this book is like 1970s, 1964, even earlier. So I'm looking at Langlet's Wave, and I'm thinking about doing something very similar with my materials here. And I have got my sheet, not my sheet, I've got my piece of monk's cloth out. I found a piece of monk's cloth that is scrappy. It's just a scrappy scrap I can't do much with. So I think what I'm going to do, because I'm a rug hooker and I'm always very formulaic, I think I'm going to just give myself a guide. I want to do something like the Wave with those fibers. So, and I'm going to work rather small because I want to end up with something that's like a runner. So I'm just going to give myself as a guide, just as a guide. You know what, I don't even know if I need a guide because I've got monk's cloth and it's got the lines on it, but let's do it anyway. In case you don't have lines, you can use any backing for this, including burlap from the local craft store. I'm giving myself a quick guide here. And not a very straight line, but at least it's there. I do a lot of measuring with my fingers because I'm that fancy. And I'm going to drop in another line here. And my idea is, let's refer back to that book for a second. This book is one of my favorite. It's the Stitches of Creative Embroidery book. So this is one of these vintage books that I look at a lot. Let's look at Ragnhild's design again. And here we are. So I'm going to want to do something that's very irregular, right? Just stripy, 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 and she's not going exactly across for each one. So I'm thinking about the way that the Wave, this piece, feels, and I'm thinking about how to make that happen on my very small rug hooking frame. I'm going to put this right over the top because, let's see if my lines kind of match up. Yeah, they do match up, right? This is one of these very small frames that Ribbon Candy Hooking stocks. So let's see. I've got this over this frame. I've got a very small frame here. Let me tell you my size here. This is one of the Ribbon Candy Hooking ones that we have that are exclusives. This frame is about 8 inches across. So I only want to work on the central panel here because I'm thinking back to my picture. Now, just to give myself more of a guide, remember the picture is not absolutely symmetrical, and some of it goes right across and some of it goes in other directions. And I'm just kind of bracketing off what I mean to do just a little bit, just a little bit. I love the idea, and it's actually the Langlet piece is not, it's embroidered, right? She's like a weaver and a fiber artist historically. I'm not sure if she's still with us, but that piece, The Wave, is embroidered, right? I'm going to try to do this as a rug hooking piece because I just think it's calling out to be a rug hooking piece. So you've got a bunch of these fibers from your autumn grab bag, or maybe you're at home and you have a bunch of fibers like this, all different kinds of thicknesses and novelty stuff, and whatever you have, this is a great hit or miss project. And I'm just going to go, let me move my book for a minute. I'm just going to go across a few times here and see what I get. I might have too big of a needle in my monk's cloth. I've got the Joan Mosham or the coarse. That's going to be all right. I wouldn't want to do this for hours, but This is a very thick fiber that I'm working with too. Kind of popping up like, can you hear it? Really cute. I'm going to fast forward you here as I make some progress. I think I might take a moment to change. Well, you know, I'm not going to change to a smaller hook because I'm afraid if I change to a smaller hook, it's not going to grab this giant piece of fiber, right, of this giant yarn. It's really, really, really thick and bulky. It's soft, but it's thick and bulky. My problem is I'm working in monk's cloth, but it's a small piece, and now I'm committed to it, and it's a scrap piece that, you know how scrappy I am. It's perfect for this project, and I hate wasting, so it's going to be a little bit hard on my hands. And if you're making a large piece with this same style, technique, and design aesthetic happening, I would go for linen or burlap for sure. But I'm here, and I'm set up, and you stay with me for a few minutes while I work in some of these really lovely fibers. See here, I started using these fibers, and they are super lustrous and pretty. You need to decide where you want your tails up. This isn't traditional hooking. I'm not sure I want a lot of tails up, so you might notice in the fast forward that I am tucking the tails under. But to me, this is already looking like it has that feel, right, of that langlet piece. It has that luster, it has a tapestry feel to it. I'm going to work in a little bit more at high speed. So I'm going to keep going with this for a while. We'll see how it evolves. I would not recommend hooking this material if you got the advent calendar into monk's cloth. It is, I have bad hands, as you know, but it's really hard on my hands. It's a bit too thick for this backing. I wish I would have done it in burlap, but I'm stubborn and I started, and I love the flow of this so far. So I'm going to keep going with this for a little while longer, and I'm going to see what kind of beautiful piece I can evolve going top to bottom. I'm going to be kind of following in the box that I've done here and then doing some of the other materials across this way. I might introduce some of my other yarns or even wool strips going across like this. We'll see what happens. So you can see I've been working on this a little bit. I'm really enjoying this project. It's abstract and it's meandering, isn't it? So while it doesn't even have a shape, I'm just going to continue kind of adding lines like this and blocking off sections. Like I did here, you can see I blocked off this section. I don't know if it's super pronounced, but I put those really thick, nubby fibers in here, and then here I hooked sari ribbon. I was also thinking about hooking pantyhose, right, for that kind of color. And I'm just kind of using up my leftover fibers from the advent calendar bags and also some strips I had left over. And it's just super free-flowing and organic. What I did notice as I was working on it, and you could break it up into any kind of shape, right? It doesn't have to be a square shape. It could also be shapes like these kind of tulip type shapes, whatever you want. That's the nature of a nice abstract piece like this. It's also a great bell pull shape or yard long if you're doing it long and skinny like I am. One of the things I noticed while I was working on it was that I wish that I had put it onto linen. Not just because I used a lot of thick fibers, and monk's cloth isn't my favorite. It's a bit tighter. Now that my hands give me trouble, monk's cloth is a little bit too tight for me. But I wish that I had put it on linen because, for example, when I did this last night, I was thinking, oh, it'd be so nice to leave some of it bare, right? To leave some of it showing. But you can't really do that with the monk's cloth because it has, you can see the holes and you can see the white threads going through it. But if it were a different backing, like a burlap or a linen, it would look very sort of 1970s, wouldn't it? If a little bit of the backing was showing. And I thought that would be a lot cooler. It would also make it possible, if you were going to do stuff like that and you were leaving stuff kind of not hitting the end, if you had the background showing, but you hooked just around the edges like a frame, that would be really cool. Just a little, it is a bit 70s, a bit of a macrame look, you know what I mean? Very fun project. I'm going to keep working on this as time allows here and there. But this is how it's coming along. And this is just another idea for some of these bulky fibers, some of these sort of weaving fibers that I put into your advent calendar. You had good yardage for all of them, so it might be that you're using some of them for more than one project. But this is just a totally off-the-wall project I didn't even think of when I planned the calendar. But I have to say I'm enjoying this project very, very much. So good luck with all your projects, and let me know how it's going. I'd love to see what you're working on. And I will see you next time at Ribbon Candy Hooking.